This day in sports history. This episode is brought to you by Sterling Soap Company. How often do you think about your soap? Well, if you answered, not much, maybe you should. You see, a lot of what passes for soap in stores is technically not soap, according to the FDA's definition. It's full of lab-created chemicals and detergents because, well, it's cheaper to make. Now, what if you could buy natural soap made from natural ingredients like tallow, palm oil, coconut oil, and scented with essential oils, and for just a little more than you'd pay for grocery store soap? Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne, there's a product and a scent for just about everybody. Check them out for yourself at sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. Hey, and welcome back to This Day in Sports History. I'm assuming this is not your first visit, but if it is, welcome. Take a look around, kick the tires, check out some other episodes. Pick one out you like. This dish is a member of the Sports History Network, and you can find more stuff at sportshistorynetwork.com. It's November 15th, and on this day in 1992, it was the greatest race in NASCAR history. This was the final race of the 1992 NASCAR season, and before the green flag dropped, there were 3 true contenders for the points championship, with 3 more having an outside possibility if things went badly for the other 3. Davey Allison started the day 30 points up on Alan Kulwicki and 40 points up on Bill Elliott. Harry Gant, Kyle Petty, and Mark Martin were still mathematically in the mix. The other storyline from this day was the retirement and final race for the King, the 7-time NASCAR champ and winner of 200 races, Richard Petty. On the other end of the spectrum, future 4-time NASCAR champ Jeff Gordon was making his first Winston Cup start in the number 24 Chevy for Hendrick Motorsports. The first 60 laps of the race were pretty smooth. When Kulwicki came to pit road for the first time for new tires and fuel, his gearbox broke when he tried to exit his pit. He had to be pushed out of the box, and he was able to get the car moving in 4th gear, and he ran in 4th gear for the rest of the race, fearing that a shift to 3rd or 2nd would cause pieces from the broken 1st gear to shift and get clogged up and then cause more problems. Richard Petty was involved in a vicious crash on lap 96, and his car caught fire. Petty's day and career were not quite done yet. His crew worked on his car and got him back out to run the final 2 laps of the day. Points leader Davey Allison had a couple of unlucky things happen to him. On lap 118, Jeff Gordon's crew left a roll of duct tape on the rear deck of his car that fell off and rolled onto the track. Allison hit it, damaging his front end that ended up causing him handling problems that caused him to slip back in the field. More bad luck on lap 254, when Ernie Irvin's cut tire caused him to spin, and Allison could not avoid the contact. Allison's day was done, leaving Kulwicki's damaged number 7 machine and Bill Elliott's number 11 to battle for the title. In 1992, the scoring of the race was still being done by hand. The cars were not equipped yet with transponders to keep up with how many laps a driver had completed or led. After Dale Earnhardt crashed on lap 204, the caution flag came out again, and when the race went green again, Kulwicki was able to catch Elliott and take the lead. In Kulwicki's pit, a crew member kept track as he reeled off lap after lap in the lead. With his 10-point advantage over Elliott coming into this race, they figured that Kulwicki could finish second behind Elliott and still win the points championship if he led more laps. Kulwicki delayed a much-needed pit stop for fuel to stay out front. In doing that, he actually had to slow down to conserve enough fuel so he actually would be able to get back to the pits to get more. Once he secured at least a share of the bonus points for leading the most laps, he came in to get fuel only. But a faulty device on the fuel can left those in his pits wondering if he actually got enough fuel to get to the checkered flag. Elliott assumed the lead again, and Kulwicki was in second, but he could not push for the race win because of the uncertainty of if he had enough gas in the tank. but he also could not let anybody else pass him. It was nail-biting time in the pits, in the stands, in the broadcast booth. With about 5 laps to go, ESPN's pit reporter Dr. Jerry Punch talked about how close Kulwicki was cutting it. In essence, he had no wiggle room at all. He was within a half gallon of gas of finishing or not finishing. With a half lap to go, all looked good for the number 7. And here's Bob Jenkins with the call of the race finish that day.
Focused in on Alan Kulwicki, who is going to win the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup and the $1 million bonus that goes with it. Bill Elliott comes off the 4th corner. He wins the Hooters 500. But Alan Kulwicki is coming off of corner number 4, knowing that he's winning the championship. There's the checkered flag for Alan. He's the champion for 92.
Kulwicki won the championship by 10 points. Now, if Elliott had led one additional lap in Atlanta on this day, he would have been the points champion. It was that close. Several more footnotes to this race. This was the only race that Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, and Jeff Gordon all raced in. The past, the present, and the future of the sport in 1992. Davey Allison was disappointed to miss out on the championship, but said after the race that he'd have a chance to win another one. Instead, sadly, he would die in a helicopter crash the following July. Alan Kulwicki also never won another race. He died in a plane crash the following April. 1992 also marked the last time an independent owner and race car driver won the NASCAR Points Championship. Did you know there used to be doubleheaders in the NBA? Yeah, me neither. Madison Square Garden did this on several occasions in the 1960s. The Knicks would play one game, usually the nightcap, and 2 other NBA teams would play on the neutral side of Madison Square Garden in the afternoon game. So on this day in 1960, it was one of those NBA doubleheaders at the Garden. In the first game, the Detroit Pistons beat Boston 115-114. That was a nice setup for the 10,000 fans ready to watch their hometown Knicks play the Los Angeles Lakers in Game 2. This was the first year that the Lakers franchise called the West Coast home instead of Minnesota, the actual land of 1,000 lakes. Elgin Baylor was ready to put on a show in a town known for them, and with a large variety of shots, he hit 28 of them from the floor, tossed in 15 free throws to score 71 points on the night in a 123-108 win over New York. Baylor's 71 surpassed the NBA record of 64 points that he'd set the previous year. He also grabbed 25 rebounds on the night for a truly spectacular evening. Baylor's 71 points would be the standard bearer for a little over a year, until Wilt Chamberlain scored 78 in December of 1961. Are you a hockey fan? Then you'll love Eric Zweig's new book, Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2. It's a treasure trove of untold tales, bizarre incidents, and captivating trivia that will leave even the most devoted puckhead astounded. The intense rivalries, epic showdowns, and historic clashes that shaped the NHL's early years, it's all in there. Zweig uncovers the true stories that helped shape the sport, ensuring that you will never look at hockey the same way again. Check out Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2 on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold. How about another monumental night at Madison Square Garden? On this day in 2011, the Duke Blue Devils beat the Michigan State Spartans 74-69 in the State Farm Champions Classic at the Garden to give Coach Mike Krzyzewski his 903rd win as a college coach, topping his mentor and former coach Bobby Knight as the winningest men's college basketball coach. The Devils used a 20-1 run in the second half to take control of the game and then just watch the minutes tick away. Bobby Knight was part of the broadcast crew that night for ESPN. After the game, Coach K and Knight shared a tearful hug. After that moment, Coach K said this.
I just told Coach I love him. I mean, I wouldn't be in this position without him. So it's a moment shared, and I know he's very proud, and I'm very proud to have been somebody who's worked under him and studied him and tried to be like him.
Krzyzewski would continue coaching through the 2022 season, finishing up with 1,202 wins. He's still the winningest men's coach. Stanford's Terrell Vanderveer is the all-time leading collegiate basketball coach for a little bit longer, with 1,216 wins. UConn's Gino Auriemma will more than likely surpass her later this month. On this night in 2004, Monday Night Football got off to a racy start.
80.
Hey there, Terrell.
What are you doing here?
Oh, my house burned down, and I needed to take a long, hot shower.
That's Philadelphia Eagle Terrell Owens and Desperate Housewives actress Nicole Sheridan in a steamy intro for Monday Night Football. At the time, Desperate Housewives was the highest-rated new program and number 2 among primetime shows. Towards the end of the skit, Sheridan dropped her towel, exposing her bare back to the TV audience, with the implication that she was completely naked. The country lost its collective mind at the towel drop, and the complaints started flooding into ABC affiliates by the thousands. In the days after, Owens and ABC were both forced to offer apologies. Just 9 months removed from Janet Jackson's wardrobe malfunction at the Super Bowl, the FCC was not happy either. Pittsburgh Steelers owner Dan Rooney said, "Here we go before the FCC with the Janet Jackson thing, and something like this occurs? It's inconceivable. The Janet Jackson thing was bad. I'm not lessening that. This was worse." The fine for the Jackson nipple flash cost CBS $550,000. I couldn't find the amount that ABC ended up paying, but it was definitely in the thousands, if not tens of thousands.
Oh, hell. Team's gonna have to win this one without me.
Time now for today's Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. The origin of the state name Idaho is a bit hazy. It is not a Native American word, nor does it have origins in another language like Montana, which is Spanish for mountainous, or Wyoming, which comes from the Lenape, meaning at the Big River Flat. George Willing is credited with coming up with the name with the claim it was a Native American word, meaning gem of the mountains. But after research into Nez Perce, Shoshone, Yakima, and Arapaho words, and finding no correlation, it was determined that Willing simply invented the word. That's all for today. Thanks for stopping by. Do the whole subscribe, rate, comment thing if you have a moment, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.